So before we start, I wanted to introduce Noah as well. Noah is an employee wellness platform with our core focus centered around health insurance. We also help organizations improve employee well-being through variety wellness programs such as daily fitness and mental health counseling. So today we have Dr. Aman Bhosle with us. Aman is a consulting relationship counselor, a youth mentor, and a mindset coach. Also, he's an author. He has a PhD in psychotherapy and counseling with from European Global School and has an expertise in several subjects such as TA, REP, etc. So if you have any questions during the session, feel free to drop them in the chat box and we'll take it up towards the end. Over to you, Dr. Aman.
All right. We have quite an interesting number here, 100 people, and all of you all perhaps having experienced some version of anxiety, however you define it. So please bear with me while I quickly start my slide sharing. Is that okay? Can I just proceed with that? Okay, just give me a second. All right. So just a quick word in I'd like to get. If you guys see me looking over my right shoulder, it's not because I have a cat on my table. This is my second screen. It means I'm making eye contact with all of you all. Varun, Archana, I see you nice and clear. And whoever else is putting their camera on, I'll call out your names if I see you and say, hey. All right, Sherry is here and she went off. All right. So we're going to talk about a topic that I think is something everyone can relate with, which is this word, the it word that I think everyone suddenly discovered during COVID. It's called anxiety. Now, what the hell is anxiety? Everyone defines it differently, and it's a very personal experience because different things make different people anxious. So I believe before we talk about these things, anxiety, a recession, inflation, we need to first define them a little bit. So let me quickly hit you with my personal definition of anxiety. Now, I see anxiety largely as something very addictive, but mostly as something extremely unhelpful. It's an addiction and almost a proclivity that we as human beings develop to want absolute 100% certainty of how things will play out for us. I want to know exactly how much traffic I will have. I want to know exactly when I'll get that promotion. I want to know exactly how much the prices are going to drop or rise. I want to know exactly how much time I will take to get this job done. I want to know exactly how this person feels about me and what my chances are at succeeding in this organization. This desire for exactness, 100% certainty, is usually the root cause of anxiety. All right. I always say this to my clients. I say we live in a world of 100% randomness, right? No one was expecting a Ukraine attack from Russia. Suddenly it came, very random, very strange, very uncomfortable for the economy and for assuming that entire region. I believe anxiety also comes from a place of vanity, because as human beings, we believe we have a monopoly over this planet. Our problems, our needs, our desires, our goals, our agendas, they occupy our mind. And we get anxious when things don't fall in place. So we develop this habit, this rush to try to customize and retrofit various aspects of life without giving respect to the fact that life plays out randomly in chapters. And depending on which chapter you find yourself on, you'll be either very well prepared or very poorly prepared for what's coming your way, whatever that may be. Now, without making this a macroeconomic lecture, a recession can be commonly defined as economic decline. Yes, it has a ripple effect on jobs, on the amount of money you take home. It's also seen as a very unpleasant part of any business cycle. Certain businesses go through a slowdown. It happened during COVID as well. It's happening now as well. It's a feverish response to the vagaries of life, which leads to a sort of mass vulnerability commonly linked with issues of money either not being accessible or things suddenly shooting up in price, which brings me to our next definition. I like to start talks by defining what we're talking about instead of just throwing big words at your face. Now, what is an inflation? When things get inflated, they sort of bubble up, isn't it? So an inflation is essentially things getting expensive, or the money you have right now is not what it potentially will be worth. So basically, the value of the rupee today versus what it may be tomorrow. Tomorrow, its value may drop. Those same 10 rupees today may not be very helpful 5 years from now, right? I remember when I was in college, 10 rupees could get you a very respectable double-decker sandwich outside the college. And we loved it. Now in 10 rupees, you'll be lucky if you even get one vada pav, right? That's inflation for you. Your money losing its value over time. And this largely happens because of government policy, changing tax laws, international policy, socio-political upheavals, the stock market, trade laws. But again, this is not a lecture on that. So I'm going to keep this very simple and very short. We have defined anxiety, we have defined recession, we have defined inflation. Now's the time to move on. Now, if you are part of the workforce during a recession, there are a few things you need to be mindful of. The first thing is cash flow. How much money is coming inside your pocket, inside your house? How much, it's like, how much do you have to play around with? So you have to be very careful of how much is actually coming and how much of that is trickling away. In a recessionary world, understand something. It's not going to be easy to hold on to a job or maybe even find a job. In fact, the year I finished my MBA, there was a global recession. And the theme of that has been covered in the movie The Big Short because of the debt crisis in the US. So there was no dignity in going hat in hand and going from door to door, organization to organization, saying, I have no work, please give me work. In a recessionary world, it's easy to feel low, easy to feel like you're going through a difficult time all alone, and that can affect your health. It can also affect what I refer to as your social currency. You become reclusive, you become shy, you try to hide away, you're ashamed. And at a time like this, it is extremely important to be even more visible than you usually are, so that someone with the potential to help you sees you on their radar. In a recessionary world, your access to adventure will be limited because adventure costs money. You want to go to Cordoba, to the Amalfi Coast, it's going to cost money. And because of a recession, you have none of it. In a recessionary world, it's important to understand that your only true ally is your ability to experiment with yourself, with your resources, with your time, with your personality, and with your skill sets. So you must be mindful of all the experiments that you're willing to put yourself through, depending on who you are and what you like. You have to understand the zeitgeist. What is the news? What's the it topic, right? Do you remember when the pandemic started? It was Sushant Singh Rajput. Then it was Rhea Chakrabarti, right? Then it was Irfan Khan passing away. Then Rishi Kapoor. Celebrities tend to get a lot of that limelight. Someone gets married, a new season of Coffee with Karan drops. This is what I call as a zeitgeist. You need to keep an eye on what topics are relevant to understand how you fit into the larger narrative and how important you are likely to be given the noise that we are constantly being pumped with on our phones, at our offices, in our homes. There's a lot of noise. So be mindful of your cash flow, your dignity, your health, your social currency, your ability to maybe seek out an adventure, or the lack of your ability to seek one out. What are you willing to experiment with, and zeitgeist? Now, some mistakes that can be easily avoided, all right? If you don't have a job or if you've run out of money, these are some mistakes to be avoided. I'll
Dr.
explain
Aman,
these. Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but your slides are not moving actually.
Is it? What's happening? Which one?
Yeah,
Which
we
one?
are just on the first slide. We are still on the first one.
It's very strange because they're moving here. All right, let's try doing a share screen again. Okay, give me a second. Okay, please tell me, can you see my slides? What can you see?
Oh, yes.
Define your terms.
Yeah. Can you see in a recessionary world? Because I'm changing the slides out here.
No, actually, it's not moving.
The slides are not changing. It just says, let's define our terms. That's the slide that we are on.
So let's try doing a full share screen instead of just doing the window. And then you tell me if it works, okay? So let me try that. Okay, can you see slides changing now?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So this is the slide I was on, folks. I do apologize for that. Since we are not projecting using PowerPoint, this is, I think, an online tool. So maybe my web browser was incompatible. I use Mozilla Firefox. Okay. So can you guys see the slide right now?
Yeah.
Can you guys see this long ask slide with all the categories out here now?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you for your patience. Okay to proceed? Yes?
Yes.
All righty then. Okay. Thank you for that feedback. We're talking about mistakes to avoid, especially by those who either don't have a job, maybe you were laid off, or maybe you're just looking to join the workforce. The basic problem is you don't have a job, or you've run out of money. You've run out of money. So we'll go column by column. We'll first talk about mistakes to avoid if you don't have a job. The biggest mistake, which is the first one, is not hitting your numbers, not sending out those emails, those texts, those WhatsApp messages, those connect requests on LinkedIn, and not reaching out to your network. People will hire you not when you require a job. People will hire you when they are ready to invite someone with your unique skills and talents in their organization, if they have the budget and the requirement. That's why you got to hit your numbers and go out there and try to look for the connections, for the friends who will do a favor on you and maybe give you their HR person's email address. You don't have a job. A lot of people sit around at home. They gain weight. They don't focus on their body. And when you don't focus on your body, it starts playing tricks with you. Right? And then a lot of your energy, a lot of your focus, a lot of your money goes in trying to gain back what was essentially free, which was good health. So this is something that a lot of people do. They gain weight, they stop taking care of their bodies, and then the troubles begin. Becoming a pain around the home, not helping out. So just because you're out of a job and you're desperately looking for one, doesn't mean you don't be of use to the people with whom you share an ecosystem. I think it's very important to just be good support staff in the house, even in a situation where no one would like to have you as their staff. I think it's good ethics. I think it's just good, it's just for goodwill, right? And it also keeps you busy. It keeps you cognitively engaged. So it does give you a sense of dignity, even though you may be out of work. Not connecting with old friends and well-wishers, the what will they think trap. Remember this, folks, if you're looking for work, your old friends and well-wishers will be your greatest allies. Instead of worrying about what they will think, try to have an open mind and go and ask them for connections, for opportunities, or to be introduced to people who may have the connections and opportunities that you are looking for. Don't have a job? Another big mistake is not making new connections daily. Whether those connections are made at a BNI chapter, or on Instagram, or on LinkedIn, or on Facebook, or wherever you are able to make connections, or joining a lot of WhatsApp groups. If you don't make one new connection daily, there is something wrong with your efforts. All right, because these new connections will open new doors. These new doors will open the potential to new interactions, which may open the potential to new friendships and new opportunities. So you have a job and you can pay the bills. Not using the power of social media to draw attention to yourself. I tell this to everyone. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, this is not social media. This is advertising media. These are some of the world's greatest branding and public relation tools available to you. And the best part is it's absolutely free. So use social media, draw attention to yourself, what you offer, what skills you offer, your unique personality, your unique insights, your unique expertise. I had a friend who had lost his job and he used to write articles on LinkedIn. And eventually it got him noticed by the right people and he found himself a job. Another big mistake is if you don't get out of victim mode, feeling sorry for yourself, feeling so sad, oh no, no one wants me, no one loves me, no one respects me. That's victim mode. To survivor mode, saying, so what? The economy is in a bit of a doldrum and I need to get moving, right? So the journey from victim mode to survivor mode is essentially all of psychotherapy for you. Cut and dried, simplified. Don't have a job? Another big mistake is not keeping a calendar and following no routine. Waking up whenever you want, being extremely lazy, just spending 2 hours in the toilet on your Instagram feed. How many of you all have done it? Don't lie. You know who you are. All right. Not keeping a calendar, not following a routine, not deciding on something that can help you measure how many people you're reaching out to. And not tapping your resources, not tapping your sources to get the right intel. So see, sometimes people may not be able to get you a job. What I'm saying here is you have to tap people who are your well-wishers to get information about the marketplace in which you would like to be hired. Excuse me, the room just got very cold. So when you connect with people from your line of work, from your industry, from your college, who are in similar situations that you may find yourself in, they will give you a lot of intel, or as we call market gossip. So you understand what's happening in which organization and where the temperatures are a little warmer and where the pastures are a little greener for you to go and make the jump. Some mistakes to avoid if you've run out of money going online shopping. It's an insidious path. If you start buying stuff you don't require at a time when there is a shortage of money, there is a problem. Please do not order in food on any of your Zomatos and Swiggies and Dunzos. Cook your own meals, because the tax is levied on you. The various charges, extra charges, will put a big dent in your wallet. So you'll be surprised at how cheap it is to cook some of your favorite dishes, provided you follow the right YouTube channels and figure it out. Please do not let your money rot in a saving bank's account. Please figure out how to grow it, whether you want to go high risk and enter the stock market game, or whether you want to go a little experimental, with mutual funds, etc. It's really up to you. Do not ignore any freelance gigs that will help with quick money. There are websites like Fiverr, right, where you can offer services. People will pay you per gig if there is a skill. I know a friend of mine who was a copywriter and he was laid off, and he became an English tutor for kids, and he made more money as an English tutor than he ever did as a copywriter. He actually had to get a place. All right. If you are running out of money, please end your auto renew subscriptions. If you are using an iPhone or an Android, a lot of your subscriptions are on auto renew. If you don't need a subscription to 7 OTT platforms, whittle it down, right? Just a Prime and maybe a Disney Plus Hotstar, maybe because Netflix is the most expensive one, isn't it? So it's really up to you. The auto renew will simply sap your account of money in a very slow and very, very annoying way. If you borrow money from dubious sources, they're going to come back looking for their pound of flesh at some point. So if you need to take a loan, by all means, please do, but make sure the sources are not dubious. Do it from a bank, not from a relative's, friend's, uncle's, cousin. You never know. If you're running out of money and you're not conducting an audit of the unnecessary pile-on expenses, there's a problem. You've got to write down every expense. There are some apps. I use an app called Next on my iPhone that helps me track every expense. So every month I know which categories of expenses are slightly inflated. Oh, this month the electricity was a bit more. Oh, this month we went out more often. Oh, this month, petrol prices were at an all-time high. So you need to conduct an audit of what you think are unnecessary pile-on expenses that they keep piling on and they can be easily avoided. Not consulting someone who understands money better than you. So sometimes you're not good with money. You're not good with maths. You're not inclined to understanding these things. So if you don't consult someone who understands it better than you, there's a problem. Let's assume you have some savings. Let's assume they're insignificant and laughable. This is a good time to go and meet someone who understands money, understands how to grow it. Not everything needs to be done flying solo, right? So it's a big mistake to not invite expert advice. Another mistake, common when you're younger, but doesn't really end, does it? You run out of money, but you're spending money to impress someone else who will eventually lose interest in your posturing. They will eventually get less and less impressed with your fancy meals and fancy outfits, right? At some point, they're going to want to move on to new pastures and find something else more exciting. Alia Bhatt is pregnant. Let's discuss that. So suddenly your new car is not as exciting to them, on which you took out a loan, all right, and which you're not even driving much because it's work from home. So don't spend money to impress other people. They will eventually find other things to be impressed by. That's just how human attention works. All right. Did the slide change? I hope it's changing. Now it's okay? Someone? Anyone?
Yes, Amit.
All
Yes.
right. Lovely. Lovely. So let's think over this. A few things to think over. Remember, anxiety often lies. In Hindi, there's a saying, "Til ka taar banana," right? Rai ka pahad banana. My Hindi teacher used to say this. So you take a problem that is extremely manageable, but you turn it into the world's greatest catastrophe just because you're feeling anxious about it. So you think you have control over a largely random world. You keep wanting 100% certainty. And because of that, you become emotionally turbulent and your anxiety often lies to you. I will never find a job. I will never make money. I will never have the love of people. I will never have a schedule that works for me. I will never have an office workspace where I can really do good work. How are you fortune telling all this? Do you have a little crystal ball as well in which you can see the future? Anxiety often lies. The more emotional you are, the more anxious you get. You sort of rile yourself up, hype yourself up. So remember, every time you're feeling anxious, it's a liar. It is heightening your expectations and it is confusing you. Let's think over this. A loss of control is a universal human experience. I think all of us at different phases of our life have felt like we've lost control, either of our social relationships, either of our finances, either of our routine, either of our love life. We've all felt that loss of control. It needs to be understood, respected, and reasoned with. It need not become a cause of anxiety. Say, I've lost control. I've lost my job. I don't have enough money. It's a loss of control, but this is a universal human experience, and there are ways out of it. And the first way out of it is to fill your head with new ideas, since we are always operating on limited information. Whatever you think you know about a situation, believe me, you don't know everything. Whatever you're convinced you're an expert at, believe me, there's always someone who knows a little more, or has been doing it a little bit better, a little bit longer. So fill your head with new ideas. Become obsessed with the TED Talk channel, which is one of my favorite ones. All right. Go on YouTube. Instead of watching dogs on skateboard videos, you can watch videos of some of the world's greatest thinkers and speakers. All right. Which brings me to my fourth point. Study those who have figured it out. They have figured out money. They have figured out success. They have figured out productivity. They have figured out peace. They have figured out adventure. They figured out all the things, or at least some of the things that are important to you. So study their lives, study their journeys. There are documentaries as well to watch. Remember one thing, folks, nothing is permanent except death. Or so we think, right? You are 100% responsible for your well-being. A lot of clients come to me, they come to psychotherapists, they say, oh, my colleagues are bad, oh, my routine is bad, my mother is bad, my spouse is bad. And I tell them, you're 100% responsible, but what can I do? But what did I do? No, you are 100% responsible for your well-being. So if certain new assessments, certain new conclusions need to be arrived upon, it is your job to figure out how, or to find someone like a therapist, anyone you like, who you can have these discussions with so that some new ideas are injected in your mind. And so you're not forced to sort of retread those same old sob stories about how you were given the shorter end of the stick. Remember, all the pain we experience is a very brusque but very wise professor. I see pain as my professor. P for pain, P for professor. Every time I've gone through some kind of pain, right? Whether it was in my professional life or in my personal life or even with my health, if and when it has happened, I've learned something that has permanently sat with me. So don't look at pain as something that is avoidable and unnecessary. Look at it as, this is my professor. It is here to show me the way. It is here to wake me the hell up. Remember, the real issue is naivety, self-doubt, and laziness. If you're lazy, no one can help you. If you're filled with self-doubt, you will always think you're a hack of some kind. And if you're naive, you will pretend to know lesser than you do, or you will actually know lesser than you deserve to know. So don't be naive. Don't say, I don't know, mujhe samajh mein nahi aa raha hai. Oh God, what's going to happen? Don't be naive. Run after the information. Stop doubting yourself. We all make mistakes. It's just that some people are better at hiding what those mistakes are. And if you're being lazy, then that is the real issue. You haven't looked long enough. You haven't been patient enough. And that means you're being lazy. This is one of my mantras which I give out. Okay, I came up with this: stagnate and weep, or dive and go deep. All right. Which brings me to my 10th point: become the geek that you need to become. If you need to be hired, or if you need to earn a certain kind of money, you need to become a geek, which means you need to really become what we call a kida. You need to completely throw yourself into certain lines of inquiry. You need to completely commit yourself to certain disciplines, not just a discipline in your schedule, but something you need to learn, something you need to study about. So these are some of the ways in which you can reorganize your thinking in order to deal with anxiety, deal with a recession, deal with inflation, deal with any problem you're facing. So the first suggestion to you is, if you are feeling anxious, make sure you're not sitting idle. Engage in an activity. A physical activity is ideal. Go for a walk, go night cycling. People do that these days, apparently. Join a sport, join an art class, whatever you need to do, whatever you have access to, your neighborhoods. Upskill. You can sit at home and learn a lot of things. Some people don't know what to learn, they learn a new language. Why not? Journal. A lot of times you have these emotions, they make you suffer, they drag you down, you feel scared, you feel timid, you feel intimidated. But when you write it down, it sort of exorcises all that weight you're carrying. Connect with people. Anyone and everyone is a potential storybook. And through their experiences, you can learn a lot, not just about their life, but also about where you fit into this larger picture of life. Accept the fact that you're anxious. Don't try to battle it. Say, this is what I'm currently going through. What are the hygiene checks that I need to carry out? Okay, I'm anxious. Do I need to improve my routine? Do I need to improve my health? Do I need to improve in any other pursuits? These are called hygiene checks. What is the bare minimum I need to get done to move towards a happier solution, or to move towards a permanent solution? What protocol do I need to keep up with? Do I need to upgrade myself in certain ways? What is the protocol to success? What is the protocol to winning? At least how I define winning. Am I following the rules? Every path has certain rules that you need to follow to be able to successfully complete the path, complete the challenge. All right. So these are some simple ways. Keep yourself busy, upgrade yourself professionally or personally. Write down all the feelings you're having. Maintain a daily journal. Write about the people you hate, the situations you hate, the crappy days you're going through. Just journal it, get it out. You'll feel light. It's like puking. You feel extremely light in your chest. Connect with people. Accept your situation. What is the bare minimum? What are the hygiene checks? And what is the protocol you need to follow? Which systems and paradigms do you need to now align yourself with to be able to perform better or learn new things? How do you hustle your way out of a recession? Well, use the free tools available, right? It's the recession. You don't want to spend money, right? Use the free tools. Use Insta, YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook. WhatsApp can be used to savage effect. You know how many people are now successful chefs who have simply used the power of WhatsApp during the lockdown, sending biryanis and cakes to everyone in their mohalla? Make those phone calls. If you don't make those calls, no one's going to come to your rescue. No one's going to see your requirements and suddenly put on a cape and swoop down from the skies and get you out of your misery or your hole. Remember, visibility is very important, especially when you are looking to be noticed. You want to find your unique voice. I have a friend who used to tweet very intelligent business insights on film. And then he was able to connect with certain individuals and get into a big movie marketing department without taking names. Because he found his voice, he expressed himself on Twitter for so long and so consistently, and he became so visible that he was hired. Please track your expenses during a recession. Every penny counts. Please eliminate any liabilities, those auto-renew subscriptions that I spoke about in an earlier slide. Remember, if there's any new venture you want to try out, you want to go on a pilot phase. You want to sort of try it out to see how it takes root. For example, if you want to start baking brownies, something very simple, you want to pilot it. You want to send free samples to people. You want to send it to a tested audience. A tested audience is an audience of people you already know. Your uncles, your aunties, your neighbors, your friends, their cousins. These are people who know you. So you will be well received. It's good for morale. And you will also get genuine feedback because let's assume those people are your well-wishers. They'll tell you where you need to maybe make changes. And then after your pilot phase, you go big or go home. All right. So this is how you hustle your way. Use the free tools available. There's a lot of free tools. These things weren't there 20 years ago, you know. Phone calls were there, but phone calls can get very annoying very quick, right? हम ICICI bank से आपको phone करें. You get those calls for a free debit card or a credit card. Visibility makes you invincible. It also makes you extremely, extremely confident over time. Even if the responses don't come, you start finding your unique voice. All right. So these are some points. What do we have next? Ways to stress-free living, right? You guys may be wondering, "Arey, ye to Google pe bhi mil jayega." Of course, you can get a lot of these tips on Google. A lot of this stuff is freely available. But these are the ones that I particularly like the most. I practice them, I teach them. So I'm going to share them with you real quick. All right. Express gratitude. It costs nothing. See, sure, things may be difficult in your life right now. Sure, you don't have a job, you don't have money. Maybe you're not getting hired. Maybe you've waited for very long. Maybe your family's taunting you saying that, oh, you're not getting employed. You're a burden on us. Maybe you have a loan to pay off. Even among all these factors, there is a moment in your day where I feel you must express gratitude. If you don't believe in God, you can just express gratitude to the situation that, hey, at least I have my body. Hey, at least I have 2-3 good friends. Hey, at least I have hot meals that I have access to. Hey, at least I have a computer that works. You can feel grateful about anything and everything. All right. It's something that, even in school prayers we used to have when we were kids. Thank you for the food we eat, etc. To live stress-free, you have to avoid overthinking. Remember, thinking about something doesn't actually solve it. It just helps you go at it from different angles. So don't think. Get into gear and go into your pilot phase, as I said earlier. Say no to social comparisons. Listen, folks, everyone are running their own race at different speeds. The start line is also different. Some people have rich daddies, so they have a natural advantage. You went through turmoil, maybe financial turmoil as a child, so you have a slower start. So don't compare yourself to someone just because you all live in the same building, or you all of the same gender, or of the same age, or of the same religious community, or you all are family friends, or you all are cousins. Don't get into that. Because remember, everyone has a unique set of hurdles to jump over. Some people jump quicker. Some people take a longer time to figure out how to make the first jump. But one way or the other, everyone's jumping. Create helpful coping rituals. I call this 0 hour. Give 1 hour to yourself every day to do something that gives you absolute joy. Does that mean you want to go to the gym? Does that mean you want to cook something up in the kitchen? Does that mean you want to meditate? Does that mean you want to just take a nap? Some people are like, yeah, itna mehnat mat karao. I just want to take a nap. Does that mean scrolling on Instagram and just looking at makeup tutorials or travel vloggers or food bloggers, whatever it is you like, do it. It's a coping ritual. It's your 0 hour. This is when I just do things that help me feel good. Focus on self-improvement in whatever way possible, right? There are books on self-improvement. There are gurus. There are free videos. There are webinars like this, right? Enjoy the little things. Remember, folks, you don't have to have a big house, a big car, and a lot of wealth. Sometimes, I used to see these kids when I used to drive in the rain. They're just jumping around in the puddles, or they have this little wheel that they're pushing around the street corner, and you look at the pure joy on their faces. Now, I'm not saying being poor means you're usually happier than a rich person. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying learn to enjoy the little things, a beautiful change in the weather, hot food on the table, a nice book to read. These are the little things I enjoy. You get to decide what are the little things you enjoy. Curate your tribe well, which means be very mindful of the people you surround yourself with. If you're going to be around people who are constantly cribbing, complaining, crying, abusing the government, cursing their luck, or obsessively looking at the horoscopes page, then they are going to exacerbate the anxiety you're already feeling for various other reasons. Whether those reasons are known to them or not doesn't matter. So the company you keep will affect your sense of equilibrium and equanimity. You may choose to practice spirituality. Now, you have apps to learn how to meditate. You have, Buddhist chanting groups. Whatever works for you, whatever you feel is your definition of spirituality, explore it and learn as much as you can about it. All right. Take good care of your body. I said this before as well. Watch what you eat. Watch how much you work out. If you have the time, definitely give yourselves at least 15, 20 minutes to do a little bit of brisk walking, at least in your house if you don't want to go down. And measure what you can. Learn to measure how far you've come. You remember the previous point where I said you must journal. So you can, one of the greatest measuring tools, which I believe is really valuable, is when you read older pages from your journal, what you were talking about a year ago, what you were discussing or thinking or fretting over, obsessing over, or really tired with. That's a great measuring tool, isn't it? That, oh, last year I was worried about these things. Now I have evolved past it. I have found a solution, or it doesn't bother me as much because I have bigger fish to fry now. Right? So that is a great way of measuring, which is why I encourage everyone to do a little bit of journaling. Give yourself 8 minutes in the day. You can either write it or type it or put it in your notes folder or use Evernote, whatever it is. The 6 Ds of survivalism. So I'm a big believer in something called survivalism. I'm not going to say I invented the religion, but I call it my religion to survive, to really figure it out. Right? I believe something, everything is figure outable. I don't even know if that's a word, but I believe survivalism has 6 Ds. The first is doubt. Always be a little doubtful. Can it be done? What can be done? Why do we need to do it? Be a little doubtful. Have a healthy curiosity about how to solve your problems. The second D is development. Figure out how it can be done. Do I need people? Do I need to learn something additional to get it done? Whatever needs to be done to get the job, to get the money, whatever it is. So first you have doubt, you're curious, then you go into development phase, you actually start working. Then you make decisions. In what order must I prioritize these several tasks? Sending those emails to find a job, cutting my expenses so that money doesn't trickle, doing an audit of all unnecessary expenses, connecting with old friends and families. In what order do I need to do it? Or do I need to do it all together? Demo, can it be done? So try it out. Try it out and see what results you're getting. Sometimes the results won't be instantaneous. The drive is required. You need to internally believe I can do it. I'll do it. Despite what your family or friends are telling you, oh, this economy is terrible, you're not going to get a job, the petrol prices are going to go up, oh no, the government has introduced a new type of tax. You need to say, all that set aside. I have a mind, I have creativity, I have some ingenuity, and I'm going to figure out how to take care of my needs. Direction. You're going to choose a direction, right? When you start driving, you've got to first choose whether I'm going to Goa, whether I'm going to Nasik, wherever I'm going. I need to first figure out where my destination is, and then I start driving and iteratively making modifications along the way. Is this working? Maybe not. Maybe I need to try something else. All right. Have some doubt. Try to develop your approach, make decisions of the right order, try to demo it, see if it's working. You got to self-generate the drive. You cannot force someone to upgrade, update, or improve their life at gunpoint. I'm sorry, it can't be done. All right. They need to want it. Right. And direction. Start somewhere, head in that direction, see how you feel, make an assessment, and accordingly, decisions can be made again. At any point, you can juggle these steps. It's not a specific order. All right. So you'll figure it out. Have some faith. Don't forget, we live in a world of alliances and transactions. Alliances means no man is an island. You can't go at it alone. You will have to build bonds, alliances, and connections with people. You help them, they help you. Quid pro quo, as it's called in Latin. And transactions. All right. Nothing in this world is free. All right. There's a price for everything. There's a price even for honesty. On Twitter, people may start trolling you and stalking you. Why does he feel this way about the ruling party? Remember, there are only two things you are slaves to: your bodies and the time you're given. We don't know how much time we have. You can be a slave to your culture, to your, to your family, It's a choice. But the only two things that I believe you're truly a slave to are your bodies. Eventually, our bodies get old, get sick, and we die. And time, the time you spend with the people who matter, in the pursuits that give you joy, that time is never going to come back. So be very careful where your time goes. Take good stock of it and mind your affiliations. What are you affiliated to? What do you find yourself banding together with? Who's around you? What information do you subject yourself to? Are you consuming only a specific type of media? And is that affecting the way you think? Are you becoming more and more bitter, nihilistic, and impatient? Those are your affiliations. As I said earlier, there's a lot of noise being pumped in your ears all the time by the people, by the screens you're surrounded by. Right? So be mindful of your bodies and of the time you're given. The anxiety will settle. It always does. All right? As long as you have the right attitude, you don't sink into victimhood, crying and feeling sorry for yourself, how bad the world is. Oh no. As I sometimes say in Hindi, Jesus ko latka diya, Buddha ko bhaga diya, और गांधी जी को 2 गोली नसीब हुआ. Ultimately, and these are the greatest men in the world. It's unfair, it's sad, but it is what it is, right? It's never going to be the perfect world for you. You got to find a way to be a smooth operator despite the obstacles. And there will be many. And the obstacles get more and more creative. Sometimes a person is an obstacle. Sometimes the economy is an obstacle. Sometimes your family is an obstacle. Sometimes your personality is an obstacle. Sometimes your mood's an obstacle. Sometimes your health's an obstacle. There will be many. So figure it out, get the help you need, and have a survivor's mindset. And make survivalism your religion. And then we'll see you on the other side, all right? And that's my time with you folks, all right? I think if you guys want to do Q&A, I'm happy to do it. I'm going to cast my eyes on the chat window. I think we kept it nice and tight at 57 minutes. So I have some time for Q&A. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, related or unrelated to what I've said, all right? So later on.
Yes, thank you so much, Aman. That was a great session. There's a poll launched about how you like the session and how the session went. And if there is any questions, we are happy to take that up as well. I'm not sure if this is a question, but I'm going to read it out by Nilesh. If expenses are more than the income, then what are the best alternative job or work which can be done apart from regular job for that extra income?
So it's a wonderful question, by the way. I think look for work that is decidedly recession free. So I know a lot of people turn to cooking suddenly. They were making the Dalgona coffee and they were making biryanis from home and making theplas from home. So food is recession proof, right? So you may want to look for opportunities or ways in which you can offer either you can offer a service or a good. Essentially, you're going to offer one of these things. So either a service that is recession proof, for example, what I do is recession proof. As long as there are depressed, anxious, frustrated, confused, and bickering individuals on this planet, I will have work because I'm a therapist. So what I do is recession proof. As long as there are hungry people and tummies to be fed, if you're a chef, you will always have work. And if your product is good. So if you have certain skills that you already are proud of, you can upgrade or you can put the word out and offer it, right? I know a lot of people in the pandemic also turned to tutoring, cooking, consulting gigs. And, if there's no money coming in, you can do a lot of stuff for free. It's good for goodwill, good for visibility, good for branding, all right? I hope that answers your question.
Yes, absolutely. Pradeep Nair is asking, can you share tips in journaling? How, what, and all that?
Pratibha is very well known to me. Pratibha, I'll DM you about these tips. Okay, I'm just kidding. So basically, just write down your free thoughts. There's no structure. There is no particular format. Just write down how you felt about your day. So when I say journal, just write about, oh, today was a horrible day and it was hot and, I don't know what to do. I'm not finding work and people are extremely curt in their replies and a lot of HR people don't even reply to me. Whatever, you are just documenting your thoughts. Now, when you read that, maybe 3 months later, after you have a job, it offers a very strangely comforting perspective on where you may have spent a lot of time dwelling. And you will have a bit of an aha moment like, hey, instead of dwelling so much, maybe I should have sent more emails. Maybe I should have slept earlier, woken up earlier. Maybe I need to send those emails at a time where people are actually likely to read them. All right. So a lot of insights like that can come your way if you just sort of journal your thoughts, because thoughts are very fleeting. 1 minute you've had it, boom, the next minute you don't know what it was. So it's very good to sort of take stock of your thoughts through this writing process of journaling. You can just go on Google as well, and there are many journaling formats, right? It's just a way to keep track with your emotions, all right?
Yes, I think there's a follow-up question as well. How do I measure last year's to this year if my journaling is paper and pen?
It's subjective. The measuring tools you deploy to understand how well you are doing is always going to be subjective, as is your assessment of what anxiety means to you. Some people says, don't have a job, what's the big deal? You have your body, you have your mind, haath abhi bhi kaam kar rahe, right? So what if you don't have a job? My grandmother never had a job and she was one of the happiest people I knew. Never worked a day in her life. Died at the ripe age of 96. So really how you define anxiety will define how you measure what success means to you and what is making you anxious in the absence of that success. All right. So the measurements must take place extremely privately and subjectively. All right. All right. Let's move on.
Okay, I have another poll. I'll close it in a second, but if anybody is left, you can feel free to let us know what type of session would you like to join in future. A little mental wellness, physical wellness, financial wellness. These are the sessions that we do regularly, and I see many of the people who are join us regularly for these sessions. Aman, you have a personal question. You can choose to answer or not. There are a lot of pin diaries behind you. Do you write or record?
I'm actually solving a murder. No, I'm just kidding. So basically, these are notes given to me by my students, interns across, my long career. So I like to. I'm a bit old school. I like handwritten notes. I even keep paper around me at all times. To quickly jot down things. I don't like too many apps. Even though I have 2 screens, it's ironic. So yeah, I just like to store notes. A lot of them are "Thank you, sir," "We love you, sir" cards, which I've never thrown away from many, many years ago. So that's what it is. All right.
Oh, nice. Okay, we have a long chat question. So I've noticed that, 1 second. Yeah, I've noticed that in recent years, 2 to 3 years, if I'm not prepared for something like a meeting or a task, I do feel uneasy. So similarly, I feel the need to be on time for all the time, all the time. I don't think I used to respond the same way before. In fact, I think I found thrilling to be running till the last second and being just in time. I'm not sure how should I look at this change, and is it good or a bad thing?
Psychotherapists are hardwired to never look at things as good or bad. We ask the question, is it helping or is it not helping? Is it helping you function better or is it slowing you down? Or is it, frustrating to you or is it relieving to you? We don't use good or bad because good or bad are endlessly debatable. Now, what you have asked is that you feel uneasy when you're not prepared. The good news is none of us are fully ever prepared for anything on this planet. We convince ourselves we are, but then we have to keep going back to the drawing board, making new plans to destroy the old or making adjustments to the currently existing plans. So no one is fully prepared. I'm never 100% prepared. In fact, just a few minutes before the talk, I was lying down. My wife came in and she said, "Why aren't you preparing?" I said, "I don't need to prepare. I know my material and I love my audience. And that's all the preparation I need." All right. You feel the need to be on time all the time. I think it's wonderful, especially in a city like Mumbai. If you're always on time, you have miraculously beat the traffic, the rains, and the road closures, right? Which can sometimes be a pain because of metro work. You find it thrilling to be running till the last second. All right, then go ahead and run. But make sure that sometimes when you run too fast, you may trip. All right. And if you trip, there's a price to pay for every trip. So every time you trip, is it going to cost you your reputation, your credibility? Is it going to cost you your peace of mind. Ask yourself, am I willing to pay this price? If the answer is yes, please run. Then it's not good or bad. All right? Right. I've shared some of my contact details with you guys in the chat in case you're wondering where that suddenly came from. I'm highly social on LinkedIn, Insta, YouTube, Facebook. Ajao, find me, stalk me, figure out what I ate for lunch yesterday. No, I'm not going to post that kind of stuff, but whatever. All right. This is all my stuff. So yeah, we'll take more questions.
Okay. Which is the app that you mentioned about money management?
It's called Next. It's a very nice app. You got to pay a very minimal. It's NEXT. It's only for iPhones. Unfortunately, I don't know what the Android alternative is, but yeah, it's a very good app. I've been using it for many years. It also exports an Excel sheet for you at the end of the month, which I think is very cool to know where you've spent the most amount of money.
Okay. Is there any quote that you would recommend that would help one lead life in a happy and a peaceful manner? Any quote that you live by?
I like to quote my mother, live and let live. And another one, stay hungry, stay foolish. Never pretend to be an expert in your own head, at least. You can pretend with the outside world is fine. They'll buy it also if you're a good actor. All right. But always be hungry for more knowledge. Say, yeah, मैं बुद्धू हूँ, मैं foolish हूँ. That humility will help open you up to various possibilities, which I think is very valuable. Never act like you have conquered everything that requires to be conquered, because you haven't. Come on now. Be realistic with yourself. No one ever conquers everything together. All right.
Yeah, we are almost towards the end, but I'll take two more questions that come across. What happens if your health is not keeping up with the trends you would like to keep abreast with? For example, changing a profession or starting a new hobby, won't that make you more anxious?
Anything on this planet can potentially make you anxious. Anxiety stems from an inability to predict the exact certainty of how things will play out. That's where anxiety comes from. But we're very vain as a species, as I said earlier. We expect that everything will fall into place to exactly serve our needs. It never happens like that. People don't change their personalities. Governments don't change their policies. The dogs in your neighborhood don't start barking any softer. The rains don't become less rainy. The sun doesn't become less sunny. The world stays exactly as it is, with or without your approval of it. So, if you need to take charge of your health, do it. Eat clean, exercise a little bit. It's not rocket science, you know. There are a lot of videos on YouTube. You can learn from the best and of the best. Or pay someone money, maybe you get a little more extra supervision. So yeah, change is likely to make some people anxious, no doubt. But it's also, you'll also feel anxiety if you don't change. So what do? Which type of anxiety do you like more? The struggle of being stuck in the same place, or the struggle of trying something new, going into experimentation mode, and then maybe figuring out something wonderful along the road? You ask yourself that question.
Okay. What's the difference between thinking and overthinking?
What I think you can't measure it, na, yaar. You can't, like how you measure rainfall in centimeters, you measure, you know, when you cook, you know, put these many grams of sugar or this many liters of water. How can you measure thinking? Like, I don't know, being a therapist, I don't know how to measure thinking. What is the measuring unit of thinking? Grams? Liters? So I don't like these terms, thinking and overthinking. You think as long as you're alive. After you're dead, you stop thinking. Or maybe when you're sleeping. It could be argued your dreams are a form of thinking. So don't get into the definitions of it. Don't get into those kind of semantics. Okay?
Yes, we have two more questions and we'll keep it short. What made you become a psychosocial analyst? Any personal story behind this? I think you can just answer it now.
Well, I think I got tired of the lies that adults told me when I was a child. And there's a lot of nonsense, a lot of bullshit that I heard as a child from a lot of adults, teachers, tutors, etc. I said, "Bada jhoot bola yaar humko." So I became a therapist largely due to my curiosity about the human condition, the human mind. And also because I went through some difficult times as well, as do we all. It doesn't make me special for having gone through maybe a difficult time because of a breakup or because of a certain professional challenge. We've all been through it. These are common and shared stories. So when I went through it, I did a lot of reading, a lot of self-growth became the necessity for me. It was not a luxury. I said, if I don't grow, I'm going to sink. And it's going to be bad. And then I figured a few things out and I said, hey, this is nice. I want to share it. Why not? And why shouldn't I share it? If I'm able to take a lot of these complicated concepts and really simplify it for people, why shouldn't I do it? That's why I chose this profession, to help, maybe to heal. It's a very big word, but mostly to just enjoy this crazy adventure called life with all of y'all, as a friend and as a mentor at times.
All right. The same question. How has it changed you as a person over time being in this profession?
I think I've realized that, all human beings, regardless of their shape, size, nationality, color, gender, have very similar problems. I'd given a talk many years ago. I said human beings want two things: thoda pyar, thoda ijjat. We all want that. A little bit of respect and credibility, a little bit of love to make the journey a little more palatable. So if we all want the same things, why the hell are we chafing so much? Why are we constantly trying to elbow each other? Why are we being unpleasant? Why are we being astringent with each other? So that to me is the larger purpose of life, to sort of figure out what we have in common, celebrate those commonalities while also respecting our individual choices and doing what we need to do to live a life of happiness, dignity, and maybe a little bit of fun.
Okay. I think we are over the time that we had. But if you'd like to take the question, we can go ahead.
Which
We
one?
have there's 2, 3, anyone you can choose and answer. There is few questions in the chat.
Something about a Sri Lankan situation. Has something happened? Did I not follow the news? I have no idea about this.
Yes,
Really sorry.
inflation is very high in Sri Lanka right now.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm sorry for that, man. As they say, someone once very wise told me, if you can't figure out how to make more money, figure out how to spend less money, or figure out how to grow the money you already have. That's really where it's at a time when there is inflation, right? I remember when I wanted to save money, I learned how to cook eggs in 40 different ways to avoid outside meals and expenses. And eggs are quite versatile. You can in India get a dozen eggs for maybe 2 dozen eggs for maybe as less as 58 rupees. That's actually quite a bit, right? To eat and cheap. So eat some eggs. I'm just kidding.
That's a great advice for
Anda khaye, chawal khaye. Make anda chawal. This is hostelites. This is not me speaking as a psychotherapist. This is a hostelite hack. Anda chawal will get you through the economy, through depression, through everything. It's very cheap. The cheapest meal money can buy. What else is happening?
Yes.
What was the next one?
How to handle chidchidapan due to stress in work, due to a lot of work, or maybe due to overthinking?
I think take a holiday, Nitin. I think it's important to sort of just sometimes take stock of your choices and how you're using your time. See, chirchirapan or irritability is usually an indicator of the fact that you are not at ease. And there is something not balanced in the way you are running things, or there's some expectation that you are not being able to meet of yourself, or someone else is sort of, trying to needle you, so to speak. So I'm a big proponent of taking well-planned holidays. Do it alone. I have traveled many countries alone in the past: Cambodia, Vietnam, Japan, Taiwan, Greece. I even went to honeymooning destinations all alone. People would look at me. I recently got married, so I'm telling my wife that I've been to all the honeymooning destinations all alone. Why? Because I needed the break. And it's a quick way to get rid of your chit-chit-up, and can't go too far. Go to Malshed Ghat at this time of the year and come back. It's still cheaper. Okay, you don't have to go to Santorini. Right? What else do we have? One more question. How were you able to manage money while transitioning from doing a job in the service industry to becoming? I was never a digital marketer, Tanvi. To be honest, I used to work in advertising, so not digital. I was a content producer for short format for a very long time. I managed money because, I was able to save some, to be honest. And also, during a transition period between industries, keeping it simple, sometimes the family will also help. So, if you have a parent or an ecosystem, so a lot of people will go back to their hometown between jobs, so they can avoid a rental expenses or the inflated price of, going out and socializing on Friday nights. So you may have to move countries, you'll have to look at your finances, maybe take a small loan from someone in your family. So as I said, there has to be humility. And eventually, you will be able to make these transitions rather well if you just play your cards right.
All right. We are almost at the end of the session. I think we can wind up. So thank you everyone for joining today's session. It was great having Dr. Aman here, and it was a great insightful session as well. So I genuinely request everyone to drop your feedbacks in the chat or anything, and we'd like to know how the session went for you as well and how it helped you. And we have our upcoming session coming up. And also we have a repeat session that is on the 19th as well with Dr. Aman himself. So you can join in case you missed any part of it. So thank you everyone. Have a great week ahead. Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
If you guys can hear me, you can follow me in the links given. All right. I've shared all my details there. Cheers.